The month of June is the Psalm Challenge month for us at Walk Through the Bible. If you are following along in the Daily Walk Bible reading plan, or maybe listening to the Daily Walk podcast, you know that the month of June we read through the book of Psalms, and we've just been challenging lots of people to jump in and read the Psalms with us this month of June. In this week, we are reading from Psalm 104 to Psalm 134. There's a section in the Psalms that we are reading this week, beginning in Psalm 120 through Psalm 134, that is referred to as the Psalms of Ascent. It is believed that these Psalms were recited as the people of God were trekking the often difficult miles to go to Jerusalem, to worship God three times a year at the appointed festivals. And so as you read these Psalms, just imagine that you are on a journey. And that journey would occur 3 times a year across difficult terrain, on a journey going to meet with and worship God. You know, as I've been reading through the Psalms this month, there's a tension that I felt. There's this tension between the brokenness in the world and the promises of God. You know, as you read the Psalms, you've been hearing all of the brokenness that's happening in the life of the psalmist, the despair, the anguish, the opposition from others, fear, grief, the scarcity of resources, and then you read, often in the same Psalms, just a few lines later, you read about the promises of God, that He is a restorer, that He is a redeemer, that He rescues, that He's a provider, a defender, a deliverer. And these two realities, they just are held in tension in the Psalms. And then you get to Psalm 120 through Psalm 134, and the people of God are on their way. They are going to the place of God to worship God. And the question that runs through these Psalms of Ascent is this: will God keep His promises? You know, as the Israelites journey to Jerusalem, and you read from Psalm 120 to Psalm 134, there seems in these Psalms of Ascent, as they're traveling closer and closer to the place to worship God, there's this growing confidence that God is faithful to His promise. I mean, I think you could summarize the Psalms of Ascent like this: the building anticipation of the presence of God bolsters their confidence in the promise of God. The closer they got to the presence of God, the more certain they seemed in the promises of God. You know, I am certain that some of you who stumbled across this little devotional thought from us here at Walk Through the Bible, some of you, I know right now, are living in the brokenness of the world. I'm sure of it. Some of you are experiencing loss, grief, passing of a loved one. Perhaps you're walking through some financial uncertainty, and you're just trying to figure out how to provide for yourself or for your family. You know, maybe there's been a diagnosis that in the future feels questionable. Some of you may be experiencing some sort of relational pressures and tension. Maybe it's a season of depression or sorrow for you. And the world is not how it is supposed to be, and we all at times have to live in the brokenness of it, and sometimes it rattles our faith. Sometimes it causes us to question God's plan, and we can get frustrated at what it appears God is either doing or what He's not doing, and maybe you are just there right now. And so here's my hope for you. As you read these Psalms, Psalm 120 to 134, these Psalms of Ascent, I hope that you would begin to worship God in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the fears and the hurts. Listen, I'm not naive in saying that just because we begin to worship God, that everything that is broken in the world is going to be made right. That's not what I'm saying. But here's what I see here in these Psalms that we're reading this week, and here's what I know. Here's what I know to be true. Drawing near to the presence of God through worship bolsters our confidence in the promises of God. The closer we get to the presence of God, the more certain we are of the promises of God. So may these few Psalms this week, these Psalms of Ascent, Psalm 120 to 134, as you read them, may they be a joy for you as they lead you in worship of a God who keeps His promises.